Good evening, my local drones. It is Bio Gundam here, and I'm back again for another video. So today I have my buddy OneManCast, and we're going to be discussing Data Life. So just to give you a little preface, if you haven't watched the anime or read any of the light novels, there will be spoilers. And if you haven't played any of the games, there will be spoilers for the games as well. So you have been warned. You have been warned. So OneManCast, you just do you want to sort of like give a brief synopsis about sort of Data Life, like the franchise in general, and then we'll sort of like dive into story and characters and maybe a bit about the game.
Well, basically, it starts out as a generic high school harem anime, but with a small twist of basically he discovers his waifus through these things called spirits, and due to like having these mysterious space quakes or whatever going on in the region of Japan, he and I believe it's called the AST are all involved in winning the spirits over to stabilize their power. By going on dates with them and ending up with a kiss, and the kiss is supposed to seal them. How's that for sufficient synopsis?
It's basically like, so these spirit girls, basically they travel in and out from their dimension to ours, and every time they like break through, they cause like these massive fucking space quakes and shit. And so there's two factions. Technically there's more like three factions. The one that the main character belongs to is ones that want to befriend the spirits and basically keep them on this side of reality, essentially, because if their powers are stable and they like it here, they won't go back to their home dimension and then come back again and start blowing up stuff. And then there's another faction that when they come here, they just want to shoot them on sight and get it over with, because spirits are incredibly powerful, and we'll dive into that a little later. And then there's a third faction, kind of, that wants to basically harvest them or use their energy for their own gains, like you know, Weisscott, that guy, that motherfucker. Yeah, him.
That guy. I feel like that guy just wants to do it to cause chaos, though. That's just how he comes across to me. He's just like a guy who just wants to cause chaos. That's why I like his character so much.
Yeah, he definitely has that impression. So basically, the main premise of the show is that Shiro has to befriend these spirits, take them on dates, make them fall in love with him, so they'll have some sort of attachment to this world, so they won't leave. And Shiro also has the mysterious power to seal their spirit abilities, or at least like put them in like a limited state. And I know, now just slight spoilers, I do know the reason why he can do that, and it does make sense. But like at the beginning, it does feel like oh, you know, because he's the main character, he's the special one. Like it's a bit like that, but I think it makes sense considering his like backstory, because like, you know, diving into Shiro's backstory, he is an orphan and he is adopted, and let's just say that who his family actually is and where he comes from. Like Shiro is in like it's really complicated to explain. And, like, I don't want to spoil it because it's a bit of I would say it's, like, one of the twists that the show does really well. Like, they definitely, like, foreshadow it a little bit. But,
yeah, we can't really give away the rest because that would be entering season 4 territory.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil that. We want to give people to look forward to. But, so, yeah, that is kind of, like, the original, I think one thing that I think is really interesting about this series is that, like, while the main character he doesn't hate these girls, but he doesn't exactly, like, love them. He's kind of, like, forced to like romance them. Like, do you feel that? Like,
yeah, he kind of is like a reverse Ichika to me. Like he clearly chooses none of them. Sort of. He's kind of like Ichika from Infinite Stratos. He kind of reminds me a lot about him.
Yeah.
Except he's kind of an inverse of that because, well, pun intended, I guess. The inverse of that is the fact that he's not choosing either of them because of the fact that he doesn't want to hurt them, but more like he doesn't choose any of them because he just doesn't want the how to put it? He doesn't want the responsibility and change of chaos or change of lifestyle that it would inevitably bring. Like, to him, it just doesn't seem right to make a choice, which is more of to me, that's more of a thing of him not wanting, like, seeing the outcome of everything, if he even chooses one, let alone many.
Yeah, like, and this isn't like and when we talk about when he doesn't choose him, this isn't like him being a beta, like, oh, you know, he's so clueless. Like, no, the main character is not fucking clueless. Like, he knows that these fucking spirits are thirsty for his cock. Like, he knows. Like, he is fully aware of that. But I like, he doesn't make a move, like, he doesn't make, like, a direct move because he knows it's going to lead to, well, wanton destruction. I mean, if you ever see, like, the first season where, he takes Toka on a date, Toka is the first spirit that he befriends. When he gets, like, shot and nearly dies, like, Toka almost goes on a fucking rampage. So, imagine that times, how many girls are we up to by third season?
Oh, so many. Let's see, third season. There's got to be at least, like, 12, at least. I'd have to go.
I know there's more girls, but, like, just from the girls that were introduced to by the third season, like, how many is that?
Well, hold on. We can't necessarily... Let's see. Toka, Yoshino, Kurumi, Kotori, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 11? Yeah, about 11. Yeah. Actually, possibly more.
Yeah. So, like, you know the scene I'm talking about in the anime where he gets, like, shot by the sniper rifle, by the sniper bullet, pardon me, and Toka thinks, like, he's dead, and, like, she just completely, like, she's just like, I'm gonna destroy the fucking world, this world took my love from me, and I'm gonna kill you all. Like, it's like...
yeah, Tenka. Like, that's when she went inverse, right?
Before that was like first season. Inverse is like second season. But like, just like imagine that. Like, she leveled almost a fucking mountain, by the way, and that's not even her at full power. Dang. And he has a reason to play fucking coy. But
oh yeah, like I said before, either A, he doesn't really feel anything for them, or B, he doesn't want to, you know, deal with the consequences of what dating a spirit would actually have.
Yeah,
because I don't see any actual benefit in actually, I don't see any benefit in dating a spirit.
Like, I've always got the impression that, yes, he loves them, but not in, like, it's not sexual or romantic. Like, I maybe for Toka it is, like, because she's, like, first girl. Well, technically she's second, but, you know, like, I think for Toka, it's more of a romantic feeling, but for the others, I think it's not sexual. It's, like, completely platonic. Like, would you get that?
No, I wouldn't necessarily say that even with Toka, really, because I've only seen, like, 3 chapters. He seems more like a guardian caretaker than he does on an equal level, to me anyways. But that's the way I see it.
Yeah, well, like you probably haven't, like, read as far ahead as I am. Like with Tokyo, I get the feeling that maybe it's, like, slightly romantic, but most of it is very, like, platonic. I don't know. Like, I always get this feeling that he almost views as, like, the spirits as, like, his younger, older sisters / pets that he has to take care of.
That sounds about right.
It's like the hero aspect of the show comes more from the fact that they love him. Well, I would say that most of them love him. Some of it is platonic, like with Yoshino and the witch lolly. I think it's not. Is her name Natsuki? Let me go double check. I think it's Natsuki or
Natsume. I believe it's her name.
Yeah, Natsume. The witch girl.
Yeah, the one that can turn from lolly to big tit. Yeah.
Yeah, big titty One-san. Oh, okay.
I don't. Did she even say RR in the anime?
I think she did. It's been a while. I'll have to check. But since we're just sort of like adapting like the harem process, like how about we talk about like Shiro as a character just for a bit, and then we'll like move on to his harem and shit, and some of the stuff that goes on in the story, and maybe cover the video game. So what's your thoughts on Shiro as a main character?
Well, with Shido,
I'm sorry, Shido, my bad.
With Shido, I'm kind of conflicted. Let's just say 98% of the time I didn't really care for his character, but there are some pretty good shining moments. Like the ending episode of season 3 was so gratifying.
What you mean when he becomes when you mean he goes like fucking Chad mode?
Yeah, like I was watching with my best friend this anime with my best friend that season, and when I saw that episode, my buddy thought I was mentally insane because I started singing Little John's "Get Low."
Is it get low like get low, get low,
get low,
get
yeah.
low, get low? Yeah.
To the window in the wall. Yeah, that's what I was singing because it was So I was so annoyed, like with a large portion of the season, and then I'm just like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever, and so I just lose my mind.
Okay, we should do a little preface. So
Okay.
So before he goes, before we do a little preface before he went into Chad mode. So before he goes Chad mode, he is what I would call your typical harem protagonist in a sense, but at the same time I would say there is some slight differences, especially how the harem itself is set up. Would you agree?
I always had a little bit of a thought process of it maybe being slightly subversive, but the main character himself, I wouldn't necessarily say anything separates him from a general main harem protagonist, for one reason, in that he's always beta in relationships, but always oddly assertive, specifically tailored to the plot. It seems that he's always specifically tailored to the plot to only be assertive and aggressive when the time comes for it. So that's the one thing I would say it has as a common element. But at the same time, I do prefer his dynamic in harems to pretty much any other harem protag not named whatever his name is from Shield Hero. I think Shield Hero is the only character I think I prefer the harem dynamic for. But
I personally would also include Issei from High School DxD, but that's just me.
Oh, I completely forgot about Issei. Shame on me.
All right, shame. But anyway,
shame.
Yeah, but he definitely has a different dynamic compared to when you see majority of harems. It's just he's got the crush on the one girl, and then just all these fucking fots just come out of the fucking woodwork. I think fot is too strong word. All these other girls I come out of the fucking network, and he's just I just want the bullshit to stop. But in this one, I think maybe I think subversive would be it. I think subversive. Actually, when did the series come out? Actually, when did the light novel first come out? Let's double check because I think that particular setup might have actually been subversive for when it came out, for the year it came out. Let me just have a look. Okay, this came out in March 2011.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, so
that was the year I was thinking, but I didn't want to go with that because I wasn't entirely sure. But
according to the wiki, it came out March 2011. So would it be actually, if I remember correctly, fucking early 2000s, sort of late 2010s, that's where you started seeing all the battle harem stuff come out. You notice that, you saw a lot of these anime about battle harems and shit. That was when it was slowly creeping out.
Yeah, they've always had this, whatever reason, the 2010s have had so many battle harems. It's ridiculous. I feel I swear, 1 year there was 10 of them, and it's in a single year, and it was just ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm actually going to be having a discussion with Kaiser Trigger at some point about the harem genre as a whole, but because from what I've known, early after late 2000s to 2010s, I did notice more battle harems coming up, as far as anime goes. Obviously battle harems have been a thing, they have existed, obviously, but
for decades. For decades.
Yes, but I don't think they really came to head until late 2000s, early 2010s. Would you agree?
Yeah, that seems about the right time, but it doesn't help with the advent of Sword Art Online, because Sword Art Online just completely just upended everything we knew about battle harems to begin with. Because then with Sword Art Online came the Asterisk War. With the Asterisk War came Digibro. With Digibro
came Shiroya the Pale Knight. It's all connected. It's like that conspiracy board meme, and that guy is it's all connected.
Yep.
Jesus. Yeah. So I guess I would say the setup of Data Life is a bit subversive. Just slight spoilers for Infinite Stratos. Because I've got the light novel. Because I enjoy it. It's fine. It's fun to read. I think in Infinite Stratos' case, it's more about he's doing it out of a point of survival, because this is what I picked up from the novel reading it, is that for the I think for the first few volumes, first couple of volumes, he is a bit clueless about these girls' affections for him, but I think after that, he becomes fully aware of it. It's a very slow process, but you can kind of see if you pay attention that you can see the gears turning in Ichika's head where he's oh fuck, oh shit. Like, he's basically like, I think like after a certain point in the light novel, you can kind of pick up that he's playing dumb out of like survival.
Yeah, the first 2 seasons didn't really give that much of an indication though, but it just seems like
if you read the light novels, I'll give them to you later. But if you like read the light novels and like read between the lines, you can kind of see, and maybe it's a translation thing, or maybe like you can kind of see that he's almost like playing dumb on purpose up to a point, because it's for him, it's more like a point of survival at this point. Like, he's fucked. Like,
well, if I may pose an idea, I kind of felt like after a certain point, he was kind of doing this just to be spiteful. Here's what I based this on, and it's with season 2. And it's one specific girl that really just makes me think that it was spiteful. What's her name? Tatanashi Sarashiki. That's the blue-haired chick with the short hair.
Is she the council president or the one of glasses? Her sister? Which one? I forget.
I think it's the one that's not. It's the one without glasses. It's,
okay, so it's the school council president. That's right. It's that one. Yeah, her sister's like the fucking nerd. So yeah, continue.
And the reason why I say this is that she kind of gave him an out. Like, if he were to date her, she could have given him an out when it comes to the entire setup. And it just seemed like to me that after the introduction and usage of her character in general, it really made me think that maybe he's slightly spiteful or even sociopathic. It just seemed like his smarmy, smart-ass responses to what would otherwise be sincere situations, it didn't really come across as like a sincere care for a lot of these characters. It's almost like half of them he just kind of got sick and tired of.
Okay.
And it doesn't help with Tabane either, because she's the pink hair chick, because that didn't help either. Yeah. Like, the scenes were kind of sewn for me.
All right. We may discuss Infinite Stratos another time. We'll go into more deeper about that later. But
yeah.
Like, as far as like Dead Alive concerns, like, do you believe that it does sort of like subvert like the typical battle harem, you know, sort of like archetypical story? Because like I enjoy battle harems, and like I've seen battle harems that are definitely like fucking leagues above others. Like Rosario Vampire is a good example as well. Like
Campione. That's my personal opinion. It's specifically the waifu. I'll give. To expand upon the context, if it wasn't for the waifu, I would have given this show a score of trash. But there was something about Erica that really just made the entire experience saccharine. Like, you could tell that the main character is well-meaning, if a bit dense, but it's really well made up for with Erica.
Yeah, I would agree, like, with Campione, because I've got all the light novels as well. I haven't read them all. I haven't read them. I haven't read the whole series to completion, but I'm like about like halfway there. I'm up to like volume 10 or something like that. Like I would say that like in Campione's case, like it's like he starts to accept the fact that the main character starts to accept the fact that he has a harem and just kind of just goes with it. Like, he's just kind of like, well, this is my life now. These are my girls, and you know, if you fuck with them, I'm gonna fuck you up. I guess that like. And I think Rosario Vampire does that in a way, like, because like the main character and the main chick, like, they do love each other, and like I always got the impression it's like the main character Rosario Vampire, he also cares about the other girls, but he wants to get his first girl first before he brings in the other ones as well.
I mean, I can't blame him. One at a time, you know what I mean? You gotta know your limits and stuff.
So as far as like Dead Alive is concerned, I would say it's a bit subversive, you know, from the standard, because like you've got a guy who he does care about these girls, but not in like a romantic way. It's very like, for the most part, it's completely platonic and innocent, and well, they on the other hand,
to me the word that comes to mind is sincere. That would be the word I would think of with Campione. There's a sincerity there, and I would say the same for Dead Alive, because Tito does sincerely care about each and every one of them, but how much he cares is directly proportionate to how much time he's spent, in conjunction as well with how much time is spent in the plot.
All right. So we sort of talk about like the main character and sort of like the harem element of the show. So do you just want to go for like the general spirits, and then maybe we'll just talk about the video game and stuff, and just you can go on about the video game. So what's your thoughts on we'll go spirit number 1. What's your thoughts on Toka?
Toka, huh? 99% of the time I just want to puke. The other 1% of the time I want to rage. There's literally, I even made I made a video where I just rage out at some of the here's the thing about Toka that a lot of Toka people dislike, and it's a meta narrative. It's not even necessarily that the reason why I dislike Toka is the character trope that she embodies, but by how far the story leans into it. They try to subvert what would be one of the most satisfying payoffs for the sake of comedy. I think that when it comes to Toka, the writer is a bit tone deaf, and I'd have to say she's one of the weakest characters and weakest waifus of the group.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't hate Toka, but whenever I watch the show, there's just something off about her. She feels out of place. You always get that. She always feels out of place compared to the other spirits.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't think she's bad. I think as a character, she's completely fine. But as far as the Data Live, as far as Data Live is concerned, she does feel a bit janky and out of place, and it's almost she's like the MacGuffin almost of the plot. Would you think that she's more like the MacGuffin because all this shit revolves around her?
Well, the reason why I would say she's out of place, and I definitely do agree in her being out of place, is that there's a bit of a actual personal investment, a personal segue into why a lot of the female waifus love him. Like Origami, without Shido, I don't think Origami would have survived the death of her parents. Without Shido, Origami, we wouldn't have had the alternate timeline where we had long-haired Origami. I'd say that the most organic relationship with Shido, ironically enough, is Origami. We have Natsume. Even Natsume has more development, because when you think about it, he helped her work through body image issues. With Rene, Rene is one of my favorites because they're both supposed to be childhood friends, and even though it was it was technically a facade, it was still somewhat organic. Regardless of game or anime, I'd say that there is more organic investment for each character than Toka, and Toka just seems like she was thrust upon the story. If you go back to the very beginning of the series and you wonder yourself, why is she here for Shido? She's here to cause destruction and whatnot because she's a spirit, but why here for Shido? That's the thing I think about.
Yeah, I actually don't because, as far as, Toka's character is concerned, she likes food. I mean, she likes to eat. She likes to go on dates. She's very, innocent. And I don't know, would you describe her as naive? I think innocent is more a word for it to describe it, not naive.
I would describe it as a Genki bouquet. That would be the phrase I would use.
Yeah. So so Toka is the first spirit that we encounter in the show, and by far the weakest character wise, and it's the other spirits that we encounter are so much better. So speaking of spirits, let's move on to Yoshino, the hermit, the one with the bunny, the one with the bunny puppet. I really like her as a character, and I like the whole bunny has the how she communicates through a bunny and stuff. It's really cool. Your thoughts on that?
I'm still waiting for my Yoshino route, goddammit.
Oh,
seriously, one of the reasons why I could power through that game trilogy was because Yoshino was there. And the smart ass quips that they would have would just brighten my day. It would make me so happy.
It's actually funny because honestly, Yoshino is probably the one that has I would say the most Yoshino and Yoshion. I think they're both called.
Mm-hmm. Yoshino and Yoshino. God, I'm stuttering tonight.
When they show up in the anime, they're so good. You got this cute and quiet girl, and then you have this fucking puppet that just mouths off and says shit, and it's great. It's this is great, and
it does ventriloquism better than ventriloquist.
And also when Yoshino activates her powers, that fucking puppet turns to this giant rabbit that shoots ice and shit.
Yeah, I always forget about that part, but that part is always great. Oh man, I love it. It'd be really cool if the fucking stuffed animal talks, because I don't think it's ever talked in that form. But it would be really cool if it started talking as well. it would be even better as if they started talking in the same voice as the puppet talks. You know, like generally when people do this in a story, in past stories, they'll be like the puppet talks normally, but then when they're in their big beefy voice, they're like blah, 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 blah. It would be actually kind of funny to hear kind of a same tone, same voice, same snarky kind of play on it, because it would be kind of a subversion of expectations, and it would bring some comedic relief in an otherwise serious series.
Yeah, like I would actually say that like her character, she has some really good like comedy moments, and she does because Dead Alive does have some generally like serious moments, and there's some moments in the story that I'm just like, wow, that's kind of fucked. But like Yoshino, she definitely provides like good, I would say really good comedic relief. Like I remember this one episode where they're talking about like sisters and forbidden fruit, and the puppet's just like, everyone knows you can drive a man wild with sisters, like a forbidden fruit, sweet but right of tangy, and Toka's like, I want sisters drive me wild too, I want some forbidden fruit. And I'm just like, oh. I think that was episode 9 or 8 when like Shido finds like his actual sister, like his blood related sister.
I remember her.
Yeah, remember? Yeah, we'll talk about that scene when we get to her character. But like that was just a really funny scene, and Yoshino just like and Yoshio just like really adds to it, and just talking about like her relationship with Shido, I've always viewed her relationship as almost like the little sister and big brother kind of relationship, and I think the series pulls it off very well. Like, would you agree?
With Mana, or I lost track for a second. Are we talking about Mana?
Yoshino, we're still on Yoshino.
I would say more of a mentorship, in my personal opinion. I think he helps her get a little bit out of her shell. It's kind of a weird, like, maybe uncle or fatherly relationship with Yoshino. That was my impression.
All right. So the next spirit, and this is our buddy Unknown Otaku's favorite. It's Kurumi. So I really I love her to death. She's great. Probably one of the better written like yandere characters that I've seen.
You know, I often question whether she's actually a yandere, though.
Like when you see the first season, like you think yandere, and then as you go along, it's like this weird combination of like psychopath, but also big titty One-san. It's like,
well, to me, she has the same. I had the same issue with her being a quote unquote yandere as I do with Plutia being a quote unquote sadist. To me, they just don't seem to really corroborate with their visual iconography. The way I see it is that they both suffer from the same base character issue. They're incredibly compassionate, and they never actually do harm to those they care for. Like, you gotta remember, Kurumi's guns rarely, if ever, kill anybody, and they sure as heck never hurt Shida. So the question then begs, is she really a yandere? Because generally yanderes involve some sort of actual physical harm. But this girl seems to bend over backwards for Shida, to be honest.
Yeah, like, so, do you want to discuss a bit about, like, Kurumi's, like, goal and plans? Because, like, originally at first, when we watched the Ant-Man light novels, you know, she shows up, makes friends with Shido, and then she's saying, there's, like, a scene in the anime where she says she wants to, like, fucking eat him and, like, take his power and shit. Like, take all that power and shit. So,
yeah.
She's a weird, she's a bit weird, but, like, as you go further onto the series, like... It's almost like she's teasing Shido in a bit, like she's teasing him.
Well, both she and Rene have a common link, in that they're trying to use their own methods to protect Shido. And it makes me wonder, what if both Rene and Kurumi have that common link? What if Kurumi's goal is to save a previously killed Shido? Maybe I misunderstood what was in both the anime and the game. But that's what generally came off to me, because it just seems like there's this weird little nagging in my brain when I watch it, and I'm like, there's something that doesn't add up. If she wants to take his power, why does she never harm him? But when playing the game, I remember this one scene where she's fighting her other self, and if Renee's ever established anything, is that there's some sort of like major force beyond even DEM at play here, and it just seems like they're both trying to protect Shido from something. Like,
they are. You wouldn't know about the first spirit thing, but we won't spoil it. But she's such an interesting character, because like at first you think like, oh, she's gonna fucking kill him and, you know, steal, like, basically just drain him of every last drop, and then, like, second season and season 2, like, she's helping him. Like, she says, like, yeah, I'm gonna do it after this, and then doesn't do it. She's like a tsundere, like, no, I'm not gonna murder you, Baka.
Don't tell Unknown that. We basically just uncovered the fact that she's not a yandere and she's secretly a tsundere.
Like, he might watch this video. We'll see. I'm not going to tell him that directly. I know, and if you're watching this video, hi. Right, but just your thoughts on her relationship with, like, just thoughts on her as a character as a whole. Like, do you think she's a well-written character from the content that we're discussing so far, like from seasons 1 to 3 in the games, as far as like seasons 1 to 3 in the games are concerned?
Depending on the season and the game, she carries the entire narrative. She's not my favorite waifu, but she's in the top 3 with ease. I think my top 3 are Rene, Maria/Marina, and then Kurumi, and then Origami's 4th.
Yeah, I would say as far as like Date Alive girls are concerned, like Kurumi is definitely like in the top 3.
Yeah.
It's like maybe even first place. Like, she may even reach my waifu list. We'll see. But I just find that she's a really cool character, and I really like her fucking aesthetics as well. Like, she has like the gothic Victorian like dress. She has like the flintlock pistol and rifle, and then she has like this clock for an eye.
Yeah, the heterochromia has always been a fascinating thing, and what I like about her specific gothic Lolita design is that it's not the typical kind. Like, it's nobody people think of gothic Lolita, they never think of an orange and black combo. It's usually either straight black or black and white, or let's see. I think they've done like a cool like black and teal before, but I've never seen any character aside from Kurumi have that orange design, and I think that's what helps her stand out in her spirit form. Like, she seems rather unassuming until you actually get to her spirit form, and I think the coloration and the color scheme really helps her stand out, even amongst other franchises and titles, regardless of genre.
Yeah, like when you see Kurumi, like, she's very like distinct. Like, it's like if I was to show you like a bunch of like say I took pictures from random waifus from random harem shows, and Kurumi was one of them, right? And you hadn't seen Date Alive, all right? Like, I think like Date Alive, like, she would stand out immediately. Like, why does she have like matchlock guns and rifles? What's with the fucking clock eye? What's with the dress? You know, what is this character? Because, like, if you look at her design, like, she definitely, like, grabs your interest. Like, would you agree?
Yeah, I would have to say, and I think it's a little even more instinctual than that. Like, you can, there's like a visceral visual recognition. Like, when you see her character, you have a subconscious recognition of, oh, this is when things get real. You know, this is when you think things get real, or, you know, it gives a visceral kind of acknowledgement of, hey, maybe this series is different from the same things I've always been watching, because you subconsciously recognize that it's different. And so by recognizing, even if on a instinctual level, that it's different, that will generally sell you over that series compared to its competitors.
Yeah. So Kurumi, best girl of the show, apparently. Now, we were speaking of sisters before, so should we talk to, I think it's Kotari? Is it Kotari? Yeah, Kotari?
Kotari, yeah.
Kotari. So
I'm
Kotari,
so split on Kotari.
So Kotari, our main character's adopted little sister.
And I'm very split on various factors. One, I liked her in the anime. She was really interesting and intriguing in the anime.
Why, you like it when she switches from like a moto to fucking hard ass?
It was paced a lot better. But then the games, I absolutely just fucking despise her. Like it made me wish I had a Gaia burn to spike her in the chest with. But there was one scene in the game that I really, really liked, and surprise to nobody, it's the Kotari x Shiori scene.
Oh boy.
That's the only case of which I would ever actually consider an incestuous relationship between Shido and Kotari.
But they're not blood related, so it's not incest.
I know, I'm joking around. It's Inseki, but that's beside the first thing people are going to be like, well, no, Kotari can't be a thing because it's incest. Like, I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, it's not incest. It's Inseki, but people are just gonna
that's never stopped anyone in anime and manga before, okay? Alright, that hasn't stopped anyone.
I unironically like both Yosuka Nasora and Kiss X Sis, so whatever.
Same here.
So, but the thing is somehow, some way, like the Yuri implications between Kotori and Shiori somehow sell me on the relationship for whatever reason. Besides, it's not like we can accept that they're incest. I mean, it's literally red versus blue.
That is true. And so sort of my thoughts on her as a character, like, I think she's fine as far as, like, little sister characters goes. Like, my favorite scene in the anime is when she wakes Shido up, like, when she's, like, in her Emoto form, and, like, just, like, fucking just, like, jumps right into his ribcage, and he wakes up, he's like, fuck! Like, it's so hilarious. It's so funny. I just think the realization that she's some sort of hard ass, like, who is leading this fucking, like, she isn't actually really a leader of the organization. She's more like a commander or something like that. A commander would be more accurate because she reports to the people that are in charge. But
I would think it was the more leadership person in Ratotsuka is probably that Kanazuki dude.
Yeah.
But I'd say my favorite Kotori moment was in season 3 of the anime. You know how, like, Miku was trying to initiate, like, a love because she faked burning her mouth so she can get Cheetah to kiss her?
Yes.
And, like, how everybody was involved,
yes.
And how one would expect Kotori not to do it. But then Shido looks and says, and she's like holding her mouth all adorably while pretending to cry as if she actually burnt her mouth, and it was the most adorable thing.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about, like, her whole, like, spirit design, like, what she looks like in her spirit form? Because, like, I think she's very interesting because she almost looks like a shrine maiden, but then she has this giant fuck-off axe as well. Like,
she reminds me of one of those gods of Japanese mythology. Like, you know how the Shinto religion has, like, 1 billion fucking gods? Like,
not 1 billion, but they have a decent number.
It's an exaggeration. It's an exaggeration.
Yeah.
But basically, they have those many various gods. Anything from, like, understandable, like, omnipotence to, like, god of test exams or something like that. Point being is that she really reminds me of, like, maybe a Matarasu or maybe Izanagi or those kinds. The common, like, popularized old Japanese folklore gods. That's what she reminds me of.
Yeah. Oh wait, is it an axe she has or a halberd? I forget, but it's like this big fucking pole weapon that she has. And I remember the episode when she first activates her powers to fight against Kurumi, and how, like, she's just hacking into Kurumi, and Shido's like, fucking stop that. Like, and you see, like, her eyes, like, fucking light up red and shit, and then she's, like, just absorbing all this fire and crap, and it's just, like, very terrifying.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a polearm, but I'm not entirely sure.
It looks like it could be a pole axe. I'll have a look. I'm looking at a picture right now. It's like a halberd. It's like a mix of a two-handed axe and a halberd. It's interesting. I don't think the Japanese really used axes that much. Oh, they had them, but they didn't. I don't think they used them that much.
I thought I recognized the design. I thought basically the god she's based off of makes all the sense in the world. That's who it was. Okay,
who's she based on?
Ifrit, which is basically her just being, which is just basically a some sort of like deity of the underworld or some sort of thing like that, and it's all related.
Yeah, we'll talk about, like, the references to Christianity that this series has at some point, but at some point.
I can't wait.
We're gonna dive. We'll dive into that after we go through all the spirits. The spirits that we're gonna cover so far. So your thoughts on, like, the twins, because, like, my thoughts on the twins is I kind of wish they had more character, and
that would be my complaint as well. It just seems like a blank space to me.
Yeah, I've seen shows where in the harem where there is twins. I mean, the first 2 things that popped to mind is Irresponsible Captain Tyler, because, like, in that show he has, like, these 2 twins that love him, and like, they both love him, and they both want to have fucking threesome with him, fucking, and shit like that. And then, like, the second one, which I think is the most obvious, is Kiss X Sis, where
I was going to say that was going to be the first thing I thought of. Kiss X Sis. Man,
it's weird because that show does that series does twins actually right, because, like, they give them enough, like, differences in personality that you could be like, oh yeah, like, they look similar, but they're very different people and very core aspects. Like, would you agree?
Yeah. definitely. There are some weaknesses in the subject matter some of these characters in Data Life present. For example, Toka or the Yamai twins. By the way, that moment when you realize that the Yamai twins are just Thor, but who is so tired of being so OP that he split himself off into two kawaii anime girls and sent them to whatever dimension that Shido's in.
Yeah. Because when you look at I think Captain Tyler does the twin dynamic a little better than Data Life, but I would say that Kiss X Sis is way better. But I think what's the whole thing about the twin dynamic is that sort of you're getting two lovers almost for the price of one. If we're doing this in a harem sort of dynamic or a love triangle kind of sense, because the thing with twins in these kind of shows is that they kind of complement each other, where you can't just have one, you have to have both. You get that with Kiss X Sis, is that if he fucks one of them, he has to fuck the other one and marry both of them. You get that with that series?
I would have zero problems with it. The only issue I would have with that idea is the fact that polygamy is illegal. That's the thing that really frustrates me about the entire harem genre. It's specifically because of the fact that, since this whole entire premise would not even work as a marketable genre without any sort of polygamy. If polygamy exists, the harem genre is dead. So the thing is I wish, the main character in Kiss X Sis could marry both, because then that would be where both people are happy. But, the world doesn't work that way, so.
I mean, I think there's countries that you can move to where you can do that shit, but,
Japan's not one of them.
Yeah, exactly. But, you get the impression that with, Aki and Riko, that's their name, right? Aki and Riko in Kiss X Sis, you get the impression that, they're not the same, it's they're yin and yang in a sense. The thing with Aki and Riko from Kiss X Sis is they almost feel like yin and yang. You can't have one without the other, and if you only have one, then it feels incomplete. But with the Yamai twins in Data Live, I don't really see the yin and the yang.
No, it's definitely not a clean split either way. It's more I joked about Thor, but it's basically, if in actuality, it's more of a dissociative identity disorder bit with him, or with them, basically. They said it came from the god of thunder, or god of lightning, or whatever, and split into two. I believe that's how they introduced the Yamai twins, and it makes sense. They're polar opposites. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's yin and yang, because yin and yang are harmonious, and they all each have an aspect of common link that ties yin to yang, but there is none in the Yamai twins. Therefore, I would have to say that because they're polar opposites, there is no yin and yang dynamic. So I would have to say yes, it wouldn't be like yin and yang. I would say it's the complete opposite.
Yeah, and that's why it doesn't really work. I the thing with me is that with Aki and Riko from Kiss X Sis, I immediately can tell who's who. Aki is the academic one, Riko is the physical one. Aki is the big sister Ara Ara. Riko is the big sister masochist Ara Ara. Yeah, but with the Yamai twins, I can't tell who's fucking who. It's just there's two of them.
I mean, they're two separate people, in all honesty. One's a loudmouth Shuni weeb, and the other is a reserved, quiet, silent type who is more motherly. So it's one's an immature child, and one's...
Yeah, in the anime, it's very hard to tell. It's very, I don't know, there's just something about them that doesn't work. In Irresponsible Captain Tyler, it's the same problem, but I think it's, less so in Irresponsible Captain Tyler, because they give you episodes to develop those two, the twins in that show. And also, they wear their hair differently as well, so you can always tell the difference.
The dangers of harem anime is that the more harem waifus you add, the more their characters start to blend together. There's really nothing that either the Yamai twins have that separates them from other characters. You could reasonably axe them, the two of them, from the story and apply them to other characters, and it would be more cohesive. The problem with harem anime one of the main problems with harem anime I've noticed as of late is that there's too much overlap.
Yeah, we're talking about Campione before. In Campione, there's just the four main girls, all right? And they're all very, I would say there's some overlap, but there's not much. Would you agree?
Well, part of that is because of the strength of personality from, the first two love interests. to where it covers up any sort of overlap a lot better, especially because of Erica. She has something about her character that just stands out from like many of the Data Life characters. Like, it just seems like there's one character each series has that is not only perfect, but sublime. For Data Life, I'd say it's Kurumi. For Campione, it's Erica.
Yeah, alright. So the Yamai twins, bit of a hit and miss. So so the next character we're gonna cover, and this is like a character that I like her, is Miku, the idle one. I actually quite like her, and like I actually think that like her backstory and sort of like her like I think her backstory is very interesting because it like talks about like sort of like the pitfalls of like the idol industry, because like I've heard some very fucked up stories about like the Japanese like idol industry, like some really messed up stuff, and I like how her character sort of ties into that, and how like, you know, not everything is hunky dory.
Yeah. Well, to me, in all honesty, man, the Japanese work culture dynamic as a whole is inherently toxic. Like to that society, you're not even a man unless you're like working 84 to 86 hours every week for the rest of the entirety of your adult life. And, you know, yet then on the other hand, wonder why, you know, they have such a high suicide rate. Japan, like, I would not be surprised at all about the horror stories of the Japanese auto industry, because I've heard horror stories about the Japanese anime industry.
Oh yes, I've heard some real fucking horror stories. Like like obviously obviously like in other chats I've had, I sort of like, oh, I want to go to Japan, I want to live there, I want to get involved in the robotics industry. Like obviously.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
I know it's like, I know there's some fucked up things about it, but
fucking weebs.
Yeah. Fuck you. Listen, I want to like
No, you're not a weeb. You know that you're not Japan, and you know that you don't want to go to Japan. Therefore, you're not a weeb. I'm talking about the weeaboo level weebs, where they think Japan is the holy land. It's the mecca of anime. Yada yada.
It isn't the holy land, but I definitely want to go there and maybe live there for a couple of years, because I want to get involved in the tech industry up there, because like the tech industry in my home country is like borderline non-existent. So I'm like, I'm gonna go to fucking greener pastures. Fuck you. But anyway, like I'll just cut this shit out. But I actually think that the story of like her backstory definitely ties in sort of like in a meta narrative sort of sense. Like, would you agree?
I never actually noticed that myself, but my views on Miku are dependent upon the anime or the game. The anime, I thought she was very obnoxious and intolerable, but honestly, the more I played Arusu Install, the more I had a much more positive opinion on her character.
Please expand upon that.
Well, when playing the Miku route, you get a chance to see some more of her relatable and enjoyable aspects of her story narrative, her insecurities, what makes her thrive. But whereas to me, her character in the anime just seemed like she was boiled down to her most basic elements of man hating everybody but Shido, yada yada yada. You know.
Yeah, she also calls him darling, and she also talked about like Shido was like cross dressing like at the beginning, because like.
Oh, I'll give her credit where credit's due. There, she did thankfully create Shiori, so you know that works for me.
Yes, the main character's gender bent alternate identity, because one of the spirits happens to have a taste for let's just say woman, except her darling.
Like, I'm surprised she doesn't want to see him as Shiori more. I could actually enjoy, like, a Moe CG or a Moe scene of them just, like, being grills together, just enjoying shit. That would actually be kind of fun to watch. I always loved generic Moe girl dates for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. Just, like, I like her character. Like, yeah, she can get really annoying at times, but I think that, like, when you go deeper into her story, you're kind of like, it's understandable why she would be like this. It's understandable. So next.
Well, my exhaustion with that narrative is just I've seen it too damn much.
Yeah, okay, I get it. Now, let's go to another character, though. I think probably one of the better ones as well is Natsume the Witch. You know. I actually found her character very interesting.
Women with body image issues, but I'd have to say my favorite interactions with her are with Yoshino.
Yes, I was about to say that. They have such a good chemistry together.
Right, and it makes sense, too, because they're basically on the same emotional maturity level. And so when you see two people with the same emotional maturity level going together, and then she just, like, says, oh my god, I want to marry her, which is, I'm not making that up. That's literally what, Natsume said about, Yoshino. So I ain't making this up. I'm not the fake news media. The fact of the matter that she acknowledges Yoshino as something she would want to marry really comes across to me as something like she's actually accepting herself in a weird way.
Yeah, because so the thing that we have to mention is that so Natsume, she is a shapeshifter, I would say, in a sense. Like, she has two forms. She has like her big titty ara form, and then she has like her lolly form.
Yeah, her true form. The ara girl has yet to unleash 1% of her true appeal power. Because she seems more of a person when she's in her lolly form.
Yes. Like it's almost like the big sister form is almost like a facade. It's almost like, if I remember correctly, like that's she takes that form because she wants to be a beautiful woman, and she, like, if I remember correctly, like that's what she thinks a beautiful woman is. If I remember correctly, do I have that right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant by the whole body image issue thing.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting, is that through Shido, like she learns to accept who she is. Okay. Let's be honest, like she's pretty cute with the little witch hat and stuff, okay?
Like the lolly form of the witch stuff? Yeah, definitely. What the heck is this? Wait a minute, is this Full Metal Alchemist chart?
No, it's a Day Alive chart. We're going to talk about the gratuitous references to Christianity shortly. But, so let's go to the girl that I think you're excited for. So let's go for Origami.
Yep. Oh man, there's so many story elements I love about Origami. I love...
Go on, because I'm just going to grab a quick drink, so just go on.
I mean, I sort of personally relate to her a bit. Then there's the fact that one of the most interesting things about her is the dimensional loops in the time loop. Basically, she is in essence a self-fulfilling prophecy, because her entire life's goal is to get even with the person who, with the person or people responsible for killing off her parents. But in season 3, kind of throws everything for a loop for the sake of death. Basically, Origami generally finds out that she's the one who killed her parents overall, and basically her psyche kind of short-circuited, because it threw everything she knew and everything she believed in into a paper shredder, and she couldn't figure out for herself what she wanted to do, because the entire crux of her teenage life path, the crux of everything she stands for, everything she's ever believed in, was just cruelly thrown into the trash after being put through a paper shredder. To have the level of your convictions thrown out the window, destroyed, and eradicated, only to start over at square one, was really what made her as a person enjoyable and relatable to see.
Yeah, like, because I would say that Origami is definitely, like, as far as like characters go, she's probably one of the best of the series. Like,
absolutely.
Like at the beginning, she's a bit like stalkerish and shit like that. Okay, she's a bit stalkerish, but like as you go further on to the series, like she's definitely a lot more than that. And like the whole revelation about like her parents and what actually happened is it's pretty fucked. Like, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I also have a little bit of a theory of why she is the way she is personality wise, why she has all these stalker-esque qualities. Basically, when she was young and she saw her parents die, she kind of shut herself off to emotions. And what people don't understand about the developmental cycle of a human being is that when you're a young child, you need to be able to express your full range of emotions. Otherwise, you will grow stunted and will not be able to successfully integrate even in a remote sense to your role in society. And the term is maladjusted. And basically the reason why she has these weird little quirks is that she's never had time to develop a concept of boundaries. She never had proper time to develop proper, healthy interpersonal relationships.
Yeah, because wasn't she like 6 or 8 when she lost her parents? So like this is very formative.
When you shut, like, even an adult, when they wall off their emotions to try and cope with the fact of the reality, will often have issues with self-expression, self-identification, a sense of purpose, and developing interpersonal relationships and just general coping skills. It's very difficult for an adult to do, let alone a child. And so adults generally learn how to learn boundaries eventually after the fact. But
yeah,
when you
like a scene that really stands out to me is that when she's like in the park with Shido, and then she dresses up in like the dog outfit with the swimsuit because Shido's getting like advice, and he's like, "Get on your knees, bitch." She's like, "Oh, that was great," and she did it too. Like she actually found it. Like she got like fucking dog ears, a collar, and a school swimsuit. And I'm like, oh god, why did they?
And the only time she ever got embarrassed was because Shido made it seem embarrassing too. Like she wouldn't, if it was just somebody out and about, like random strangers on the street, she would have zero problem looking like another freak. She wouldn't register their existence, and that's what happens in a developmental cycle. Is like when you have no sense of proper emotion, one of those emotions that are often forgotten is shame and boundaries. So, you know, it would make all the sense in the world if in a similar but different scenario, she wouldn't feel a damn thing if she was like dressed in like bondage gear or like not dressed at all in front of the midst of society. She wouldn't bat an eye. But because it's Shido, she feels embarrassment.
Yeah. So yeah, Origami, best character. But before we sort of move on more about like some of the story beats and like more of the game, do you want to talk about this series like gratuitous references to Christianity and stuff? Because there's like a certain magical index. Like this show has a lot of references to sort of like Abrahamic religions. Like the chart I just linked below. Like we should actually talk about like the spirits' powers themselves. So the spirits themselves have these things called angels, and they come in different forms and shapes. Like for example, Toku's angel takes the form of a sword. Yoshino's takes the form of the giant rabbit thing. Kurumi's takes the form of like a giant fuck off clock. You know, etc. etc. And most of these are actually names in an angel chart. From the hierarchy of angels.
Yep. I don't know if the Sephirotic system here accurately represents the power dynamic. I'd have to say that Origami would not be of deity of the highest crown.
I think it's the angel that she's connected to. Like, I think it's more for, like, symbology reasons than anything else.
Yeah, but there's one problem. There is no factoring in Rene. Because Rene herself and Phantom, I would say, are of a higher tier than Origami. And we have seen at least bits and pieces of Phantom in Season 3. And visually speaking, Rene Sonogami. But I'll get to her when we get to the games. Point being is that Origami, I feel like the chart needs to be slightly altered just a bit to...
But as far as like the references goes, like, do you think the chart is accurate? Like Kurumi, fate, karma, destiny, intuition, conscience, idea of prognostication, prudence, Yoshino, universal lawfulness, law, justice, and like these are because the Sephiroth system I think is like the hierarchy of angels or what each of the angels represent because like
where did they get the motif for Yoshino?
I think Yoshino, she is Zakiel, and I think that means kindness or chest something.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's what, because visually I don't recognize her character or her arc as representative of that, but I can at least understand. Like, I would probably switch her to excellence, in my opinion, or victory, or praise especially. I don't know. There's a lot of, but yeah, I do agree. There's a lot of Abrahamic references.
Do you think they add to the narrative, or do you think it's a bit pretentious? Like, we're looking at the Sephiroth chart now, and like, from what I know about the characters, like Yoshino does not embody universal lawfulness, law, order, and justice. Like, I don't think that's her character. I think that
I think it's somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's necessarily pretentious. I think it's projection or a misunderstanding or a differing life view on each character themselves. Especially the, I can't remember her name, but it's the girl from to the right of Kurumi. What's her name?
Nina.
Mina? Did you say?
Yeah, Nina. I think it's Nina.
Nia Hoja. Okay, so Nia, to me, I don't know enough about her to say whether she's appropriate to duality. I think that they got it perfect with Kurumi and Kotori. I think absolutely. I think they did a superb job for the most part, on Natsume, albeit I would dare to say...
Natsume, like, if I'm looking at this chart, like, I'll put it on screen, like, you have love, benevolence, beauty, fertility, purity, equivalence, I don't know what that means, mercy, and victory. Like, that makes sense. Like, if you look at her character arc, like, that definitely makes sense. Like, that definitely ties into it. But some of these feels like a bit of out of place. Like, pardon me? Like, they should have, like, maybe swapped some of these around.
Yeah, the reason why I don't really agree with the origami thing is that Metatron, like, her entire story is kind of different from, like, the deity or the highest crown. It's I don't remember its name. It's not Luke. It's not Paul. I don't remember
Lucifer?
which it is. But her entire story is actually a combination of a reference from the Odyssey and, I believe, Genesis. Basically, the biblical story behind origami is that of a journey of suffering as repentance. Which is why, actually, she's basically the story of Lucifer. Because she starts off as, like, the arch of angels, but then when the forbidden fruit comes into play, she becomes the greatest of devils, which would make sense in her character story up to season 3, because she has those moments.
Yeah, like in season 3, she's given the power of a spirit, and that is the forbidden fruit. Because before, she was fighting the spirits and trying to kill them with, like, you know, high-powered weapon technology and shit like that. But now she has the actual power, you know, to fight these things on equal field. Like, it's basically like a fight fire with fire mentality with her. Like, because the faction that she works for, like, she's kind of gone rogue, and they're just like, yeah, like, you're out. Like, you're disobeying orders too much. And
Origami's arc, though, really makes me respect Sir Isaac Westcott, because he literally helped allow Phantom to meet and confront Origami. Like, he is a god-tier master manipulator. I still don't know his objectives yet, but I can't wait to figure out what his end goal is.
It's gonna be interesting. Like, you said to sow chaos. That's rough. That's about right. Like, so do you want to talk about the game now? Because that's a whole, like, killer fish. But, like, Dead Alive, it has a lot of gratuitous references to, like, Abrahamic faiths and stuff like that. And I think some of it is a bit misplaced. Like, they should swap some of it over.
And the game is exactly why I don't agree with Origami being at the very top. Because Origami's class is ruler, and ruler is the concept of which, quote-unquote, God operates on. God is the quote-unquote ruler of heaven. He is the ruler of all realm. And she, as a whole, it would be considered ruler of the spirits, even if it's technically not her and it's Rene, but that's not in the games. But the point being is this. Her entire arc is probably my favorite, even if there's, like, a small inconsistency. But her entire concept is rooted in the most distinct and black and white interpretations of Abrahamic religion. She is supposed to be the one that rules above them all. That is her entire purpose as a character. She is a god. She is the god attribute, and that's why I say put her at the top. Which is only further embodied by Rio, because she's literally just the child of God. She would be Jesus in its interpretation. What really impresses me, though, what I really like about Arasu and Stahl, for example, is Maria Marina. There is just something really cool about that, because to me, it conveys an idea of Lucifer and Jesus having the same body, but dual personalities. And when you think about the lore behind the Bible, it makes more sense than people give credit for.
I've actually heard somewhere that in some interpretations of Jesus that Lucifer and Jesus are, like, the same person, or like, I don't have confirmation of that, but I have heard that is, like, an interpretation of the original text. Like, I'll have to get, like, a Bible scholar, like, I'll have to get, like, because I am planning on, like, diving into some theological books at some point, so,
the dots are connected.
Yeah, there is connections there.
The dots are connected. It would explain why he serves in hell, even though he defied God. It could explain what, the fall of Lucifer could be alternatively interpreted as falling to earth instead of hell. Jesus' forgiveness and kindness and sacrifice could mean that Lucifer ascended to heaven. There's so many, like, implications of it, and the Maria Marina dynamic does not help. Let's just say it does not help at all.
Listen, for people who are, like, who know the good book, I only know a little bit, so if I made some mistakes, forgive me. Like, I do plan to dive more into, like, theology and stuff, because, like, I've dived a little bit into it, but not, like, hardcore into it. Like, I don't know it back to front, but I do plan to, because there's so much fucking shows, there's so many series that, like, that link back to fucking, like, Abrahamic religions and faith and paganism and Shinto and Hinduism and all that kind of fucking shit. So, like, don't worry, people, I am gonna do my research, okay? So if the information I have now, that was one interpretation I've heard of it, is that Lucifer and Jesus being the same person, or something like that. So, just food for thought.
It also doesn't help that the powers of Maria Marina in My Little Shido 2 don't help either. They don't help either, because it's the same sort of, like, ability to hold, the same sort of, like, weird, near defined power. And it doesn't, and that's the thing. That's what I like about a lot of these characters, because you mentioned it yourself, Abrahamic religions. But what makes Data Life's what makes the dynamic of that interesting to me is that it makes the Antichrist look more powerful or more omnipotent than both God and the Lucifer and Jesus, because of where he is in the Data Life story. He is the master manipulator. He's supposed to reference the Antichrist, and Ellen is supposed to be Lilith. Like, there's a lot of religious undertones and overtones in this series.
Yeah, like, actually, like, it's funny because, like, when you, like, think about it, like, you can see sort of, like, the connections, like, the spirits are the fucking angels, or the demons as well, because they have an inverse form where they turn to demons. Like, I distinctly remember that one of them has a demon form called Beelzebub, so, like, there's so much fucking, like, just going by, like, the Abrahamic framework, like, who is Shido in this story? Like, is he, like, Joseph? Is he David? Like, is he Moses? Like, let my spirits go. It'd be...
See, that's the thing. I don't actually think Shido is actually an Abrahamic religion reference. I think he's Odysseus.
Oh, all right. Like, let's just dive into that quickly as well. Like, because, like, the gears are, like, ticking my head now. Like, there's so much theological references in the show. Like, you know how, like, a certain magical index has those references and undertones? Like, this entire show is undertones for Abrahamic religions. Like,
well, it takes the power dynamic and alters the hierarchy a bit, and it's amazing how you can just take little tiny strands of differing religious texts, rearrange the hierarchy a bit, and it completely comes across as brand new.
Yeah, it
really is. It's
yeah. Is Odysseus that guy that wanted to fuck his mother?
No, he's that. You're thinking of Oedipus complex, and no, he's the guy. He's the main character of the Odyssey, and his entire story is that of a journey, an odyssey, if you will. Basically, he's on a journey of repentance towards the gods, or because the gods wanted to punish him for his hubris.
Yes. So,
which to me, that's what he comes across as, is that very thing.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the thing. Speaking of, I'm sorry.
Yeah, like we should stop talking about the theological stuff, because, like, we're not really experts.
We're not. Well, I only know enough for my political end, so don't worry about that. So I'm just going to go back to the game. By the way, I did mention to you that my buddies and I are working on a secret project, and that's specifically related to Ridi Tsunagami. A lot of the in-game characters don't have any form of inverse form, and Renee, to me, needed some form of inverse form because her thought process to me never really made sense. So my buddies and I are making a fan-in project dedicated to her and basically righting the wrongs of her character design. Because if you look at her story, you wonder to yourself, if she can create a fake world where everybody can live in to begin with her ruler powers, why doesn't she just make herself real in existence? To me, that would take less spirit energy, less power, and just generally less effort to make that more possible.
Yeah, she's kind of weird. She's kind of weird like that.
We basically are taking, like, a gimmick from a pro wrestling character, and we're kind of just changing it and applying it to the character. And the temporary name for her inverse form is Fiend Queen. Basically, there's this wrestling character called The Fiend from WWE, and it's probably one of the best things of that universe. But the reason why I came up with it was because there was a scene in Rin Utopia, right?
Yeah.
Where she's like talking to Shido about the girl he starts a route with, and she's like, "Protect her for me, will you?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And then what she does is she alters the environment she is in. She like distorts the colors and then vanishes. And for those who know the kind of the lore of the WWE verse, that character also does the same thing. So what originally started as a meme is now a full fan-in project dedicated to that.
Yeah, like, I think the thing that really spoke to me about this character is this quote down below. Would you like to read it out?
Which one? Okay, you linked it.
Yeah,
okay.
I typed it down below. I think, like, one of the things that really shocked me about that character is that particular quote.
Oh, yeah. If Shido wants me, then I'll gladly give my everything to him. To become his lover, kiss him, have sex with him, marry him, give birth to as many babies as he wants, grow old together with him. But even if Shido chooses someone other than me, I won't mind. If Shido thinks to marry Tobichi-san, I'll bless him with all my heart. Of course, it also applies for other people as well. Even if Shido chooses Toka-chan, Kotori-chan, Yoshino-chan, or perhaps someone that I don't know. Of course, I don't mind if he doesn't choose to be with anyone. Or even if he chooses everyone, I'll support his wish. I'll do anything for Shido's happiness. If Shido wishes it, I'll grant any of his wish. I don't mind becoming his childhood friend, his lover, his wife, his younger sister, his older sister, his mother, his daughter, his superior, his subordinate, his enemy, his nemesis, or even someone unrelated to him. As long as Shido is happy, I'm satisfied. Oh, sorry, it seems I got too worked up myself, but it is true that I don't mind whoever Shido chooses.
Yeah, and I read that, and like if you look at the name of her angel, it's called I think her angel's name is called Eden, and her power is, I think, Paradise Calamity, or let me just look it up. Yeah, her power is Paradise Lost, the one who returns to nothing, or Eden, Paradise of Calamity. Like, that's basically, like you want to talk about, like, Abrahamic references, she's almost like the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, and this is why I keep saying she's representing God. She's literally the creator of the place that her children are in. And it makes all the sense in the world. And the fact is that she can be any of these things, everything,
because that's what Shido wants. Like, if Shido wants to be some fucking conquering warlord, she will be like his greatest rival, just because that's what Shido wants. She is literally the Garden of Eden without the snakes.
Yeah, and Shido could also, I guess by this logic, Shido could also be considered Adam.
Yes.
I mean, it wouldn't be surprising, because no one ever assumed that Adam or Eve even died. Like, there's several
It's funny that you say Adam and Eve, because like we're gonna edit this part out, but you know the revelation of who his mother actually is in the original spirit.
For Shido, yeah, the one behind it all, I believe.
Like, yeah. If you read the volume where they reveal, like, there's a couple of volumes where they go into the backstory of the original spirit and where Shido ties into that. Like, if you read that whole story, that is the fucking implication, and that is why Shido, the main character, has the abilities he has. Because she was planning on making him a god with her by his side.
Wow, that's fucking mental.
Yes, and we're gonna edit this part out. But like, if you really think about it, like, he is Adam.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so continue on with the game, because this mindfuck.
Yeah, this is an entire mindfuck. So I noticed that there's a poll on the wiki about which one's the favorite of the trilogy, and to no surprise of mine whatsoever, the highest ranked by far is Rin Utopia.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Neither am I. I have a very unpopular view of the light novels, though.
I read the light. Listen, I read the light novels, but I know most light novels. Light novels are shit.
Sorry, visual novels. Visual novels.
Okay, all right. Okay, continue.
I actually have a very negative impression of all three of the light novels. But it's funny that they mention, like, it's funny the fact that how people ranked each game, because they ranked Rin Utopia 62 voted for her, Arson Stall got 15, and Real Reincarnation got 13. It's actually kind of on the same proportion as my ratings for each of the three, because Rin Utopia is my favorite, Ars Install is my second favorite, Real Reincarnation is my third, and my scores from scores respectively are 4, 2, and 0. I was having a very unsatisfactory experience with the latter two. Arson Stall because it was far too long with too many routes. Rio Reincarnation because there really was no story there. But I'd say that everybody's favorite being Rini Utopia makes sense because it was basically a tale of tragedy. And the thing is, the only reason why I even enjoyed a remote amount of Rio Reincarnation was that it was an alternative happy ending for all the tragic characters, and so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But I have to say that I was not really a fan of the visual novels. The visual novels really annoyed me from top to bottom, except for three or four routes in general. Give me a second, I'm gonna go find my trophy list. But there's like 3 to 5 character routes in overall that I really enjoyed. Kurumi, Yoshino, Origami, Rene, and Maria Marina. And I'll give Miku a honorable mention. Basically everything else from Kaguya, Yuzuru, Shido's Digest, True Endings, Hell No for Toka, like most of especially Toka. Oh my god. Like some of these just really, really pissed me off, and when they weren't pissing me off, bored me to tears. So yeah, I'd have to say that overall I gave it a 4 for Reina Utopia, 2 for Arasu Install, and 0 for Rio Reincarnation. And here's the thing, like I said before, previously with Kotri, I really hated her character a lot more. Toka I actually somehow found a way to hate Toka's second game, or I hated her Arasu Install route a hell of a lot more than her Rene Utopia route. And Rene's Fantasia was, even though a still image, still a very happy payoff. Here's what I liked about Arasu Install. Arasu Install had a really neat aspect of the distinction between Maria and Marina, what really the psychological thought process with Maria and Marina that really interests me in comparison to her fellow waifu counterparts is what I said in my review of what defines a human being. Because what the story of Arasu Install did really well, or at least, well, whether inadvertent or not, was the fact that Maria and Marina seemed a lot more human than Toka, or even or Yuzuru or Rio, or a majority of the cast. And that's what really surprised me and was a positive trait. But in the end, everything else with the pacing and the story gave it a 2 out of 10. So ironically enough, Arasu Install I just realized this, but Arasu Install got the same exact score rating for me as the Final Fantasy VII remake. I just now realized that. That's funny. That's so funny because I really disliked that Final Fantasy VII remake.
I'm actually playing the original right now. I'm actually I'm quite enjoying it, but I think we should wrap it up because we're nearly getting up to 2 hours. Yeah,
But in summation, I would suggest that if you want to get into Data Live, here's how I would transition from start to finish: anime, light novel, visual novel. Because the anime is what will get you into the light novels, and the light novels will give some depth to the visual novel, and will give a little bit more depth and richness to the visual novels while you're playing them. I think that's what I'll go out on.
Okay, so before we end this, just do you think that Data Live is one of the better battle heroes out there? Especially the ones that are popular in air quotes. Do you think it is worth some of the hype that people give it?
Honestly, I think it's worth a little bit more. Barring the visual novels, I'd say it's actually worth a little bit more. And the reason why is simple. This story has probably one of the most interesting story hierarchies in lore, has some of the best funny moments, and honestly, aside from animation quality, has one of the best storytelling dynamics overall. I think it actually deserves a lot more praise than it gets. It subverts every expectation when it comes to harem anime protagonists, and when it does, run with the tropes, they run with it to a degree of caricature, which is done for comedy. So I actually think it should be given more respect than it has.
Yeah, because according to the Wikipedia of this recording, apparently, the Dead Alive light novel has finished at the main story has finished at 22 volumes.
Oh, that's right. They also had didn't they also have like an alternate route novel or two with Toka being the only one who survives or something like that?
It's weird. All right, we won't talk about that. But
Okay.
I don't think Dead Alive is bad. Like, I definitely think it's handled a lot more competently than most of the competition out there. And one thing that bugs the living fuck out of me, is that we have the anime dubbed, we have the visual novel games translated, but we don't have an official release of the light novels in English.
Yeah, that is a shame.
It's weird. Like, fucking Dead, from what I know, like, Dead Alive is reasonably popular. Like, it sells.
Oh yeah, it sells, but I feel like it should sell more. That's just my opinion on it.
Well, especially especially when you figure out like all the gratuitous references to Christianity, and you're like, like
it's one of those stories that on the surface seem really shallow, but when you start to really dig into even the waifus you like and the meaning behind them, then you start looking at the stuff you don't like, and then you start learning more about them, and then there's the stuff that you really dislike or hate, and then you learn more about them, and then when you circle it back in perspective, then you're like, oh, this story is actually really in depth and has a good story lore.
Yeah. So thank you all for listening to us like ramble on. I'll have OneManCast back again, maybe for another video. We'll see. I got not much going on this year, so he might be back again. We'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out. So any ending thoughts? Want to say goodbye to our viewers?
Well, thanks to Bio Gundam for having me on, first and foremost. I always do enjoy doing podcasts and things like that related to anime. I feel like anime needs more podcasts and more stuff dedicated to these niche fields. I feel like it would get
more discussion, like actual discussion.
And I feel like it's a much better tribute to anime than the Crunchyroll Anime Awards.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, moral of the story. Fuck Crunchyroll.
Fuck Crunchyroll.
Yep. And I'm going to stop recording right. Okay, so goodbye.